Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sara Kelly. I'm an ADHD coach specifically for late diagnosed ADHD women. In today's video, I want to talk about something that has been really true in my life, and I'm sure a lot of the women watching this video today will really resonate with this, and that is how ADHD women often feel misunderstood by their partners. I know this has been 100% true for me. I've even gone through a divorce over this. We have since reconciled, and if you want to see that video, it is pinned in the description of this video. I also made a video a couple of weeks ago talking about the biggest complaints that people who are invested and romantically involved with ADHD people have with their ADHD tendencies. So today, we're going to flip the script and we're going to talk about what the ADHD women in your life want you to understand better about their ADHD experience. We'll cover 4 main points of contention in this video. Make sure you stick around till the end. And if you are the ADHD woman who is watching this video, make sure you save it and give it to your partner so that they can understand your brain just a little bit better. Now, before we get into the tips, I want to let you know that I am accepting new clients into my lifetime membership coaching program, ADHD Mindset Mastery. So if you are someone late diagnosed with ADHD or you believe you have ADHD, self-diagnosis is perfectly valid, and you are looking for support from a qualified and certified ADHD coach, there is a link in the description of this video to get on a call with me to see if ADHD Mindset Mastery might be a good fit for you. So let's get right into it with the first way that us as ADHD women want our partners, our loved ones to understand our experience better, and that is with struggles with communication. Something that is notorious for ADHDers is anecdotal communication. And what anecdotal communication is let's say that my partner comes home from work one day and says they had a horrible day and they just are so happy that they're gone from work. I might not respond in a way that they would appreciate by asking them to elaborate or showing the kind of empathy that they want me to show them. Instead, I might resonate with my own experience and say, oh my gosh, I totally understand having a bad day at work. Last week I had a bad day at work and it threw me off, and going on and on and on. And you get the picture. The neurotypical partner might go, hey, wait, I wanted to come home and tell you how I had a crappy day and I wanted some empathy, and now you've totally monopolized the conversation and you've made it all about you. When we are sharing an anecdotal experience, and this is something that an ADHDer can work on as well if that's not appreciated in a relationship, but I believe that everything comes down to intention. And when we are sharing an anecdotal experience, we're doing it to create closeness and understanding with a person who shared their experience with us. The intention is not to take that situation away from the person who's telling us about their experience, only to share in the fact that we're validating their experience because we know what it's like to go through something similar by sharing in our own experience. Another way that we might struggle with communication is that we do tend to interrupt from time to time. It's really hard for us to store short-term information in our brain. Part of our executive function deficits is our working memory, our short-term memory. Think of your short-term memory as someone telling you a phone number and you not being able to write it down and you having to remember it by saying it over and over again in your head. A neurotypical person has that recall for short-term items like a phone number a lot easier than an ADHD person. So if we're engaged in conversation and your ADHD partner feels like they have something to add to the conversation, they might interrupt for fear of forgetting. It's not trying to be rude. It's again not trying to take over that conversation. Our brains are always in the fast lane on the highway. And when we get into a train of thought, our thoughts are moving so quickly, we might be scared that we're going to forget something. And so we do interrupt. Again, it's something we can work on. But I think that when we understand the intention and the underlying cause of why some of the things manifest in our romantic relationships, then we can create closeness, because knowledge is power, and understanding each other and our needs and also our neurotypes can create a lot of closeness as well as validation in a relationship. And the final way that communication can be an issue for us as ADHDers in a romantic relationship or in any relationship is coming back to what I was just saying about our busy brain. It is really hard for us to sit still and to pay attention and to stay engaged in a conversation when we can hear things that are going on maybe outside, when we have our peripheral vision noticing things that are going on. So something that an ADHD partner might want to do to be a little bit more engaged in a conversation is to get out a pen and paper and doodle, or to play with a fidget toy. Just that little bit of extra attention on something else, although it looks like we're distracted, it helps us pay attention to our neurotypical partners so much better. So now that you understand how we communicate a little bit better as ADHDers, let's move right into how a lot of ADHD women feel really, really overwhelmed in a relationship. I know it's not 1950 anymore, and we have come a long way from the Leave It to Beaver era, where the woman stays home and does all the cooking and cleaning and the man goes out and has a career. But there's still a lot of gender roles that are prominent in relationships, even in 2024. And that puts a lot of the onus on the woman to take care of the house, to take care of the kids, to make sure that the family is organized and attending all of the after school activities. All of that organization, all of that keeping the home clean, keeping the schedule intact and running smoothly takes a lot of executive functions. And as ADHD people, we have a deficit in our executive functions. The executive functions are located in the front of the brain. It's called the prefrontal cortex. And things like impulsivity, organization, emotional regulation, our working memory are all part of our executive functions, and we struggle with that. Something that I feel so many women would want their partners to know is that it's not that they're lazy or that they're trying to drop the ball on the things that are important to do. It is really, really hard for us to organize all of those things. So something that a partner can do to support their ADHD loved one is to lighten the load and maybe take on some more of those kind of archaic gender roles, or to even body double with your partner or sit down with your partner to do a little bit of planning, and not planning that necessarily works for you as the neurotypical partner, but planning that works for her ADHD brain. She might have a completely different way of organizing things. ADHDers are notorious for leaving things in plain sight so that we don't forget them. They're called the doom piles, where we might have a stack of papers sitting on the table that we need to tend to. And if that stack of papers were to go away, bills are not going to get paid. The way that we remember is insight. Out of sight, out of mind couldn't be more true for ADHD people. So a way that you can support your partner is to do a little bit of planning, not parenting, not telling them they should do something a certain way or that they've come up short in some aspect, but how can you support them? ADHD is not about getting out of doing the thing. It's finding a way to do the things that we need to do that work with our ADHD brain and to help ease our executive function deficits. And really, in essence, this is us being forgetful and disorganized as ADHDers. We also struggle with time management, especially if we get into hyperfocus where we're really fixated on something. A whole entire day can go by and we might forget to eat or go to the bathroom or drink enough water that day. It's not that we're trying to avoid adulting and doing all the things that we need to do. We just truly have this time blindness. We don't have the same concept of time as neurotypical people do. So we might be late from time to time. We might get caught up in a hyperfocus and have that take too much of our day away from us. And this obviously in a relationship can lead to a lot of misunderstandings and hurt feelings and frustrations, especially if our partners are depending on us to be somewhere at a certain time and maybe we are notorious for running late. So again, working with your ADHD loved one and the ADHDer to work with their loved one to find a compromise, maybe setting false deadlines, setting a timer to leave your house 15 minutes before you actually have to go so that you have that leeway to forget your keys or whatever. But ultimately, this comes to healthy communication, compassion, and compromise, as well as trying to understand that, especially if you're neurotypical, you're not going to understand the experience of having ADHD and what it's like to be in an ADHD brain. And just as a quick example of that, imagine sitting in a room by yourself and it's totally quiet, but in your head, all you can hear is constant chatter all the time. And it's not organized chatter. It's chatter where you're going down one path with, your internal chatter and then another path, but then you don't want to forget the path that you're on, but now you've totally forgot. It's chaos. And living with that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is exhausting and really difficult. And I think that I speak for not just myself as an ADHD woman. All I want at the end of the day is to have a soft place to land, a safe place where I can be myself, where I feel supported, not parented, where I feel loved and not judged, and where there's healthy communication, where I feel like I'm not the only one giving. The giving is a two-way street. And if your ADHD loved one struggles with impulsivity usually stems from either boredom or emotional dysregulation. Maybe when your loved one is upset, they're more inclined to do online shopping to get their mind off it. Or if they're really, really understimulated, they might be a little bit more impulsive. And as we're speaking about being understimulated, another complaint that I know a lot of neurotypical people have towards their ADHD partners is that our affection can seem very inconsistent. A lot of times, especially in a newer relationship, in the beginning, the ADHD person might almost seem slightly narcissistic because in the beginning of the relationship, they're getting so much dopamine from that new love that they are almost love bombing the person, their romantic interest. But that is just that new shiny object syndrome. It has nothing to do with narcissism. And because we do tend to get bored, we're not necessarily bored of the person, but we might be bored of aspects of the relationship. So our affection and our attention might seem to fluctuate and at times be dwindling away. I know that for me, when I'm really hyper-focused on, say, a work project, my relationship definitely suffers, and this is something that I absolutely need to work on because I'm so hyper-focused on doing this work project. Say, for example, I might not give my partner the same amount of attention that I had normally given him. And that can lead him to believing that maybe I'm not interested anymore or I'm not happy in the relationship. Again, communication is key. Let's say, for example, that your dates are always just going for dinner. Spicing it up a little bit by maybe doing a different activity to keep your ADHD interest, to keep her interest-based nervous system excited and anticipating the next thing that you guys are going to do is a great way to spice up a relationship. But again, if your ADHD partner seems to be pulling away because her attention is somewhere else, communication is key. And it's perfectly reasonable for you to communicate your needs. But at the same time, I think it's also very, very reasonable to ask her what you can do to maybe spice things up in the relationship if things seem to be getting a little bit more routine and boring and you feel like she might be pulling away a little bit. And she might be. We don't know this, right? Every relationship's different. But communication is key. And because ADHD people have an interest-based nervous system, boredom can really affect us in a way that makes us seem like we're aloof or not caring or not in love anymore. And that's not necessarily true. We probably are still very much in love with you, but we've just found something else to give us dopamine. And at the moment, you're not the star of the show. So if you want to be the star of the show, again, communication and adventuring in the way that both you and your ADHD partner like to do is a great way to spice things up. And the final way that I have in this video that ADHD women don't feel understood by their romantic partners is in the realm of emotional dysregulation and rejection sensitivity dysphoria. I do have a video all about rejection sensitivity dysphoria and emotional dysregulation linked in the description of this video. So I won't go into those too greatly, but if you're not familiar with them, please watch those videos. The most important takeaway for you as a partner of an ADHD person is that part of our executive function deficits come in the realm of big feelings and being very, very sensitive to rejection. We might get that text from our boss that he wants to see us tomorrow. And all of a sudden, we've convinced ourselves that we're going to be fired and we're going to have to pack up our things and leave the job. And we probably did a horrible job and they probably don't like us and we're not going to get a reference and all of the things. And as a neurotypical person, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, like, he might just be giving you a promotion tomorrow, or he might just want to talk about a scheduling issue. But to us, those feelings, that feeling of rejection, especially because there's so many people with ADHD who've been highly criticized and ridiculed for ADHD-ness that has shown up throughout our lives, the thought, the even mere 1% chance that we could be rejected, it feels like a knife going in us. So the best thing that you can do when your partner is talking about how they're feeling rejected, and a lot of ADHD people are verbal processors, we really need to talk out our feelings in order to come to terms with even how we're feeling, is to sit with them and be with them and ask them what they need. What do you need right now? Do you need a hug? Do you want to go outside and get some fresh air? Would you like to go for a walk? Do you want me to just listen to you, or do you want me to give you a little bit of advice? Meeting her where she's at when she's feeling the effects of RSD will calm her nervous system so much quicker, and it will make her feel safe. When we're in fight or flight, we don't feel safe. And I'm not saying that you should entertain that her boss is going to fire her and add, fuel to the fire and get her even more riled up. You don't have to entertain the nonsense that she's temporarily believing if she's just feeling the effects of RSD and it's not real. But you do need to be attentive to her feelings and validate her experience, because she's more sensitive to rejection than you are. Just like some people are more sensitive to sunburns, just like some people can eat really spicy food and other people can't. ADHD people are very, very sensitive to rejection. And when we're feeling rejected and when we're feeling emotionally dysregulated, we want to feel safe. We want to feel heard and seen and understood. And the best thing that you can do for your partner is to give her those things and to ask her how she wants you to deliver them so that it's on her terms. Maybe she wants to be left alone, and that's okay. Maybe she wants a hug. Maybe she wants to talk about it and repeat the same thing, for 15 minutes, just going on and on and on about how she believes that she's actually being rejected. And how I would handle that is, I see that you're really upset. I see that you're really hurt. That is validation. And the final thing that really ties in with this rejection sensitivity is emotional dysregulation. As ADHDers, we feel really big feelings. And if your ADHD partner is still menstruating and hasn't gone through full-blown menopause yet, 2 weeks before her period starts, her ADHD symptoms might be a lot worse. As our estrogen drops, so does our dopamine. Depression, anxiety. Also, there are ADHD women who suffer with PMDD. I have a video on PMDD linked in the description of this video. But basically what PMDD is PMS on steroids. It could even include, thoughts of not wanting to be here anymore, thoughts of hopelessness, severe depression, anxiety, sadness. It does pass once our period starts. But again, ADHD big feelings are something that come with us. We love hard, we cry hard, we can get a little bit hot tempered. Not that that shouldn't be a boundary, that you don't have your ADHD partner being aggressive towards you. But again, just validating her feelings, sitting with her, meeting her where she's at. That's how you create connection, love, and a really, really strong relationship, because ADHD people are pretty awesome and fun to be in relationships with. But we do come with a few extra things. And if you have the right tools to communicate with your ADHD partner, these relationships are amazing and beautiful. That is all I have for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something. If you are an ADHD woman, I hope that you send this to your partner. And if you are the partner of an ADHD woman, I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you share it with her as well and let her know that you understand her just a little bit more now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week in the next video.